When my brother walked into my house, he froze. His eyes swept over the empty living room. No sofa, no pictures, just bare walls. He opened the fridge and found a single bottle of water. Then he turned to me and whispered, "Emily, why are you starving when you have a retirement of $8,000 a month?" Before I could answer, my son stepped out of his room. "I give all her money to Madison," Daniel said casually. "She manages it better than Mom ever could." The words hit me harder than any slap. My brother, Robert, stood still, his expression turning from confusion to fury. He didn't yell, he just said, "I'll handle this. But to understand what led us here, I have to take you back. My name is Emily Harper, 68, retired nurse from Austin, Texas. I worked 42 years in a hospital, mostly night shifts, and saved every penny I could. My husband, Michael, passed 10 years ago, leaving me with one gift, our son, Daniel. Daniel was my pride. I sacrificed everything for him, birthdays, holidays, even my health. When he graduated college, I sat in the audience in my scrubs, exhausted but proud. I thought my job as a mother was complete. After Michael died, Daniel became my reason to keep going. He was my family, my future, my world. So when he called one day saying he'd lost his job and needed a place to stay, I didn't hesitate. I opened my door and my heart without question. I thought I was helping my son get back on his feet. I had no idea I was opening the door to the worst year of my life. When Daniel first brought Madison home, I could tell she wasn't like the girls he used to date. She was confident, polished, and always calculating. She spoke as if she were being interviewed, and when she smiled, it never quite reached her eyes. Still, I wanted to believe she would make him happy. After all, every mother dreams of seeing her child loved and cared for, so I ignored the unease in my stomach and welcomed her into my home. They married 6 months later. I paid for the catering and even helped with the down payment on their apartment. Madison thanked me politely, calling me Mrs. Harper instead of Mom. I told myself it was just her way of showing respect, though something about it felt distant, cold. For a while, things seemed fine. Daniel visited often, always talking about his career and their plans. Madison smiled beside him, carefully guiding every word he spoke. I saw how much he adored her, and it made me proud. He looked successful, confident, grown up. Then the phone call came. Daniel had lost his job. His company downsized, and suddenly the life they'd built began to crumble. I could hear the panic in his voice. "Mom, we don't know what to do. The rent's overdue. And Madison's furious. Can we stay with you for a while?" My answer was immediate. "Of course, sweetheart. This is your home." When they arrived, I gave them the master bedroom and moved my things into the small guest room. Madison protested at first, but I insisted. "You two need space," I told her. "You'll get back on your feet soon." If I'd known that opening my door would mean losing everything I'd worked for, my peace, my independence, even my dignity, I might have thought twice. But love makes us blind, and I loved my son more than anything in this world. At first, things felt normal. I cooked, cleaned, and tried to make my son and his wife feel comfortable. Madison even joined me in the kitchen a few times, pretending to learn my recipes. "You're so generous, Mrs. Harper," she said one evening, stirring a pot of soup. "Not every mother would do what you do for her son." Her words sounded sweet, but they carried a hint of mockery I couldn't quite place. Within a few weeks, Daniel said he wanted to take over managing the house finances. "Mom, it'll help me feel useful while I'm job hunting," he explained. "You shouldn't stress about bills anymore." I hesitated. My retirement was all I had after 40 years of work. But when I saw how defeated he looked, I handed him my debit card and told me my PIN. "Use it for what you need," I said. "Just be careful." That decision changed everything. At first, he brought home groceries and paid the bills, but soon the bags became smaller, the fridge emptier. "Prices are crazy, Mom," he'd say. "We have to cut back." Yet somehow Madison's wardrobe was expanding. Expensive perfumes appeared in the bathroom, and she paraded new handbags through the house. When I asked about them, she smiled. "They're gifts from friends." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to believe him. But the lies began to stack up like unpaid bills. Then one morning, I tried to check my bank account. The password didn't work. Daniel said he'd changed it for security reasons. When I asked for the new one, he took my phone and said, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll handle it." From that day on, I stopped being the head of my own household. My money, my choices, my freedom slowly slipped through my fingers, disguised as love and care. The first thing to disappear was my sofa. It was the wine-colored velvet one Michael and I bought on our 20th anniversary. One morning, I walked into the living room and found an empty space where it had been. "Where's the sofa?" I asked, my voice trembling. Madison didn't look up from painting her nails. "We sold it. It was old and took up too much space. We needed the money for more important things." "More important things?" I whispered. Daniel came in with a beer and shrugged. "Mom, don't get sentimental. It's just furniture." Just furniture. That sentence cut deeper than he could imagine. Over the next few weeks, more things vanished. The dining table, the lamps, even the family photographs. "We're decluttering," Madison said with a fake smile. "It's good for your mental health." My once warm, lived-in house began to look like a hollow shell. At dinner, I was given half a bowl of rice, while Daniel and Madison ordered takeout and ate behind closed doors. "Mom, you're older," she said sweetly. "You don't need to eat as much." I told myself she was right. I told myself they were struggling and I could endure it for a while. Then one afternoon, I went to the ATM to withdraw money from my medication. The screen flashed insufficient funds. I tried again, same result. The balance printed on the slip read $42.17. $8,000 a month gone. When I asked Daniel, he sighed. "Mom, everything's expensive. You don't understand how the world works now." He spoke to me like I was a child. I wanted to scream, but fear silenced me. I was terrified that if I protested, they'd leave and I'd be alone. That night, for the first time, I realized I wasn't living with my son. I was living under his control. I started losing weight quickly. My clothes hung loose. My reflection in the mirror looked pale and unfamiliar. Friends from the hospital stopped by, shocked by my appearance. "Emily, are you eating enough?" my friend Carol asked one afternoon. Before I could answer, Madison appeared in the doorway, smiling sweetly. "Mrs. Harper is doing fine," she said. "She's on a new health plan. Less food, more discipline." Her words sounded sweet, but they carried a hint of mockery I couldn't quite place. The next morning, I worked straight over for 5 hours, sweating in an airless room. "I need a payment now," I said, shouting over the noise of the machines. The manager looked at me with disdain. "Get out of here and don't come back," he snapped, throwing a few crumpled bills at me. I picked them up and walked out, tears streaming down my face. I walked home in pouring rain, my clothes soaking wet. When I finally reached home, I saw my son and Madison laughing watching a movie. The door closed behind me. Madison said, "You look like a drowned rat." Daniel didn't look up. "Mom, you're so embarrassing. Get inside before the neighbors see you." I stood in the hallway trembling from both cold and shame, fear mixed with anger. I had never felt so helpless in my own home. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I was going to fight back. That Thursday afternoon, the sound of knocking echoed through the house. I was too weak to get up, so Daniel went to the door. When I heard my brother's voice, my heart almost stopped. "Emily," Robert called, "it's me." Daniel stammered, trying to block him. "She's resting, Uncle. She's been a little delicate lately." But Robert wasn't the kind of man you could lie to. I heard his footsteps down the hallway, doors opening one by one, until mine. When he saw me, his face went pale. "My God, Emily," he whispered, kneeling beside my bed. "You look like you haven't eaten in weeks." He held my hand, feeling how thin it had become. Tears welled in his eyes. "You look like you haven't eaten in weeks." "I'm fine," I lied, out of habit. Robert stood, scanning the empty room. "No furniture, no pictures, not even curtains. Where's your stuff?" Before I could speak, Daniel appeared in the doorway. "Uncle, we're renovating," he said casually. "We sold some old things to get modern ones." Robert's expression hardened. "Renovating? She's sleeping on a mattress on the floor." He went to the kitchen. Minutes later, he came back holding a single can of soup. "This is all the food in the house," he said quietly. "Emily, where's your money?" Before I could answer, Daniel's voice came from behind him. "I give it all to Madison. She manages it better than Mom ever could." The silence that followed was unbearable. Robert looked at my son the way a man looks at a stranger. Then, very calmly, he took off his coat and said, "All right, we're going to fix this right now." For the first time in months, I felt something I thought I'd lost forever: hope.
Robert didn't raise his voice. He simply called our family lawyer, Mr. Grant, and said, "Bring your recorder and a doctor. We're dealing with elder abuse." Daniel froze. "Uncle, you can't do that. It's a family matter." Robert turned to him with calm fury. "Exactly, and that's why it hurts so much." Within an hour, Mr. Grant arrived with a doctor who examined me immediately. Her face grew grim. "Mrs. Harper, you're severely malnourished. If you hadn't been found today, you could have gone into organ failure." The lawyer turned on his recorder. "For the record, Emily Harper, age 68, has been deprived of food and access to her finances. Her son, Daniel Harper, and his wife, Madison Harper, have been living in her home, controlling her money and selling her belongings." Daniel's voice shook. "She gave us permission. Permission to starve her? Permission to sell her furniture, her memories?" Madison stepped forward, trying to sound composed. "We didn't starve her."
I was managing the money. We invested some of it. In what? Mr. Grant asked. Madison hesitated, then whispered, "A clothing boutique." Robert's jaw clenched. "You used my sister's pension to fund your business?" "It was temporary," Madison cried. "We plan to pay her back." Robert scrolled through Madison's phone, recording every transaction. $3,000 for inventory, $2,500 for renovations, $800 for a dress, $1,200 for a handbag, all while my sister was living on rice and beans. Daniel sank to his knees, sobbing. "I didn't know it would go this far." Robert leaned down and said coldly, "You didn't want to know. You just wanted her money." That night, for the first time, my son saw what shame truly looked like. Mr. Grant placed legal papers on the table. "Daniel, Madison, you're going to sign a written confession acknowledging the debt, $93,000, and you'll begin repayments immediately. Otherwise, I'll file criminal charges for elder financial abuse and forgery." "For what?" Daniel stammered. Mr. Grant pulled out documents, power of attorney, insurance changes, and a real estate form to sell this house, all forged with my digital signature. I gasped. "You were going to sell my house?" Daniel's face went white. "We were desperate, Mom." Robert slammed his hand on the table. "You were going to throw her on the street." The lawyer stayed firm. "You have 2 hours to sign and vacate the property. Take only your personal items." Madison cried. "Where will we go?" "That's not our concern," Mr. Grant said. Daniel tried to approach me. "Mom, please, I'll fix it." I looked at him. "You let me starve in my own home. I gave you everything." He sobbed. "I'm sorry." "I believe you are," I said, "but that doesn't change what you did." And for the first time in my life, I chose myself over my son. Robert helped me pack while Daniel and Madison left in silence. When the door closed, my house finally belonged to me again. Robert took me to the hospital. I spent 9 days there, days away from collapse. Charges were filed, some money was recovered. I moved to Denver. I healed. A year later, Daniel had repaid part of the debt and asked to write me a letter. Maybe one day I'll read it. I've learned that love without limits becomes permission for harm. If love costs you your peace, it's not love, it's control. And you deserve better always.